Good evening. This is the Walpole Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, June 25th, 2025, in person. Town of Walpole, Commonwealth, Massachusetts, Conservation Commission requests for determination. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, notice is hereby given the intent of Keolis Commuter Services to request a determination of wetland resource areas located along the railroad right-of-way for the 5-year vegetative management plan. Application and plans may be viewed at the Conservation Commission office, room 212, 135 School Street, or at www.walpole-ma.gov/conservation commission. Public hearing in the above matter will be held in person at Walpole Town Hall, FinCom Room, 135 School Street, June 11th, 2025 at 7:15 p.m. All interested persons are requested to be present. So June 11th. Did we continue this?
What's the ad say? It's
So
June
we
11th.
had,
June.
so it should be June 25th.
Should be.
Okay. Anything in here? Board of Health said it's, will not be meeting before the comments are due on June 11th. Therefore, Health Department would like to make internal comments. The Health Department has no concerns at this time. I don't see anything else, is there? So representing the applicant,
My name is Matt Donovan from Benish, representing Keolis for this RDA, confirm the accuracy of the maps used for vegetation management along the commuter rail. We're required to get this determination every 5 years from your commission in order to submit the 5-year vegetation management plan approved by Mass Department of Agricultural Resources. The vegetation management plan is designed to manage and control vegetation necessary to keep the railroad in operation safe. And there are regulations in place to keep the sensitive areas protected. And these are found in CMR 11.04 as well as our vegetation management plan. The maps we provide you with are mainly made for the chemical portion of the plan, but often dictate where mechanical methods will be used due to chemical restrictions. Each year there are 2 main chemical applications, one in the May to June timeframe and one in the August September timeframe. The first application targets the roadbed, and the later in the summer application targets the areas adjacent to the roadbed. The areas marked with blue and yellow on the maps will never receive that brush program adjacent to the roadbed. It will only receive that roadbed program. So that's mainly what I'll focus on because that's what happens in your sensitive areas jurisdiction. But if you do have questions about the brush program, I'd happy to answer those as well. The roadbed application is performed by a spray truck driving directly on the track, equipped with nozzles on the backside, spraying the solution down directly onto the track, and it targets the shoulders up to 12 feet from the center line of the track on each side. The certified applicator is always accompanied by an environmental monitor familiar with site conditions and equipped with these maps, instructing the operator as necessary. The applicator has the ability to turn off all the nozzles, or in many cases just the side nozzles, where it's targeting the shoulder where it may be getting close to the buffer zones of the sensitive areas, and they can do that at the flip of a switch. Yellow zones will never receive any treatment to the shoulders. It may receive treatment directly down onto the ties, and that's done at the environmental monitor and applicator's discretion to keep it within the conformance with the setbacks. The blue zones will typically receive the full roadbed treatment at a 1-year interval, and the dark blue zones will typically receive the full roadbed treatment at a 2-year interval, and those are more so, the dark blue zones are more so water supply or DEP zones. Due to the chemical restrictions in these sensitive areas, more effort is put into controlling the vegetation with mechanical measures, especially in the areas adjacent to the track where they're not able to do that brush program. We are seeking a positive 2A determination to confirm the maps, as well as a negative determination for the work included in the vegetation management plan. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
okay. Landis?
Yep, so generally, since these are in a rotation of 5 years, and then there's a yearly plan, I don't go out and go along the whole railroad tracks. I have in the past, years ago I did. I just take the aerials and I look through the aerials and make sure that they are consistent with what I know along the way, and that the red and the yellow, I mean, the blue and the yellow lines are consistent. And one of the plans, the area adjacent to Ruckaduck Pond, next to 55 Summer Street, I knew there just somewhat recently had been vernal pools certified in that area, so I brought that up and we made changes to the plan. Are those designations on the track?
Yeah, those are in blue zones, so it wouldn't change the marking. Basically,
So they're not yellow zones in,
there would be blue zones where you can't spray within 10 feet of a vernal pool
okay.
At a 1-year interval.
Okay.
So I have a question about that too. You're talking about the Ruckaduck, where the tracks border the Ruckaduck for that stretch?
I'm not familiar.
Other side of Ruckaduck. So during the 55 Summer Street, which is a very large 40B
Yes.
project, we had a couple of the vernal pools certified in that area, and the wetlands that are right adjacent to the tracks. So
Yes.
they're basically, it's tracks vernal pool.
Yes.
So it's across the tracks from
Would be a
Rockadale?
yellow.
Yeah, I don't understand why you spray there.
I guess I'm not familiar with the area. And I'm not sure what Ruckaduck.
Cedar Swamp.
So it's planned, what?
It says
Two.
page 2, but that can't be right.
Well, that's how it's identified, is
It is
page 2.
called page 2, but it's got a perfectly round pond in the middle of it.
Yeah,
That's, yeah,
It's
that's the
the,
Ruckaduck.
right, so this was through the email that I sent, that I was told that designation was gonna change.
Yes, it is page 2.
Where are you?
No, so that area is blue currently. The restriction for a vernal pool is you can't spray within 10 feet of the vernal pool.
And if the vernal pool is within 10 feet of the railroad tracks,
Then you wouldn't spray.
and it wouldn't be a yellow area.
If it was within 10 feet, it would be a yellow.
Okay, well, I'm saying I think it is within 10 feet, because it's the tracks, then it's the bed, the gravel, and at the
Okay.
base of the gravel is the wetlands, which holds the vernal pool. So with that-
Okay, and then so you're saying, do you mind scrolling to that map? Just,
It's the round, perfectly round pond. When you get to it, well,
The Ruckaduck
yeah.
is the perfectly round pond.
Ah, right there.
Yeah, we don't have any of that down here.
okay, so it's on the opposite side of the track is the pond?
This area,
Yep.
and I believe in this area, is where the vernal pools are. So they're right adjacent to the tracks.
Okay.
And under the track.
So this was like within the 3 years, somewhat recently,
It's
but they're
recent.
certified vernal pools.
Okay, so I guess, do you have, I could change that into a yellow if they are that close to the track, and they're new. We would be happy to change that to a yellow zone, and they wouldn't be spraying on that shoulder. If you could send me exactly where they are, I
Okay.
could change
Yeah.
that. And then if we could have that as like still receive a determination, but kind of have that as a,
Right, that's why I thought my email response was good catch, we'll change that, so.
that was there was a culvert or something. There was 2 things, and in the email I responded with, I said, I was thinking you were talking about another vernal pool and that it was correctly marked as blue, because that doesn't show up as a vernal pool on the Mass DEP
Okay.
layers.
Maybe because it's just, yeah, I don't know if they haven't put it there, or because it is within the past few years.
Yeah,
Okay,
but no, if it's there, we'll definitely, and if
all
it's
right,
that
so you need
close-
the documentation that shows exactly where it is.
Yeah, yep.
how far from the vernal pool do you have a no spray zone?
It would be 10 feet on either side, and what we typically make it quite a bit more than that, just to be on the conservative side, especially in this area. There's no crossings, or it's on the outside of a curve, so it's not imperative to keep,
Can you, when you respond, indicate some distance that we want no spray, 50 feet or whatever, from the vernal pool, distance-wise along the track?
we would keep it within the regulations for sure.
And you're saying it's 10 feet?
Right.
So if they can't spray within 10 feet of vernal pool, and the vernal pool is right
Right,
abutting
yeah.
the bank, then they wouldn't spray there. That's why I want it to be yellow, which means a
Right.
no spray area,
Right.
rather than blue.
Right, but I'm just saying how far, they only have 10 feet, that's the only protection we get is 10 feet?
They're not gonna spray at all.
Well, they won't spray.
Well, no, spray, yeah,
it's-
but.
They won't spray at
well,
all
within
within the
10
10
feet, you're spraying,
No, a yellow area, there's no spray.
I know.
Okay. What you're saying is
How
how
far
far
on the
along the
tracks, yeah.
tracks?
From the vernal pool,
It would be
would they
the
not
the
spray?
length of the vernal pool?
It would be the length of the vernal pool plus the 10 feet.
Plus
Plus the
10
10
feet?
feet.
Right.
Not a heck of a lot.
Yeah, that's what it is with wetlands too. There has been substantial studies by DEP and MDAR with studying there's an approved chemical list that is used, and they study
Okay.
like the
All right.
absorption rate, and it doesn't, it's very controlled, and
Okay. Anything else, Landis?
No, that's it.
Julie, anything else?
I just have a clarification question about the yellow zone that's now there.
Yep.
So that will be where you will go in manually or use mechanical to keep the vegetation at bay along there?
yeah, and even in the blue zones too, where they're in the areas adjacent to the track, it won't be receiving any treatment in the,
Okay.
which is the brush program. So that in the yellow area, in some cases, will still receive treatment directly down onto the ties.
And then what happens with the debris?
The debris is typically mulched or sometimes taken off off-site. The mechanical treatment or vegetation management is typically done by like contractors like Northern Tree or
Okay. And there's no way that could fall into the water that's along there or get into any of that wetlands?
not, they wouldn't do that in a wetland. No, they have the vegetation management plan has an appendix that is the best management practices for all the different vegetation management methods.
Anything else, Julie?
No, thank you.
Jessica?
No further questions?
Haley?
No comment.
Al?
Nothing.
No.
Okay. How do you, those spraying, how do they know where they are, whether they're spraying or not spraying?
So these maps, the tracks themselves directly on the ties, there are markings, blue and yellow, and they correspond to the blue and yellow that you see on the maps.
Yeah, there's like little placards
Mm-hmm.
as you go on the track indicating if you're in a blue
Usually-
area or a yellow area.
Yeah,
I just want-
I've seen it.
Whoops.
My
Okay.
backyard.
Any in the audience have any questions or comments? Please identify yourself for the record. Hearing none, so we make a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
600. Okay.
So they're seeking a positive 2A, which is for the determination of the resource areas and with the added that area will be changed once we provide that information regarding the vernal pool area. The vernal pool area would be changed to yellow. And then a -5, which states that they meet the exemptions.
Okay, so that's a -5 is the motion?
-2, positive 2, there's two, positive 2A
Positive
for the
2A.
wetlands resource areas and a -5 for the to meet the exemption.
Okay, so we'll make that a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
600. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch with those maps.
Yeah, I'll get that information and send it out to you.
Yeah, I should be able to send it back within a day
Okay.
or two of
All
when
right.
you get it to me.
So they'll update the aerials and then they'll update the field placards?
Yep, exactly. Thank you.
Oh, you
Good
did a
stuff.
switcheroonie already.
Public hearing, Town of Walpole, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Conservation Commission request for determination. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice hereby given the intent of David Averill to request a determination of applicability for proposed installation of new septic tank and leaching field located at 27 Carl Road, map 45, lot 110, within 100 feet of the bordering vegetated wetlands. Application and plans will be viewed at the Conservation Commission Office, room 212, 135 School Street, or www.walpole-ma.gov/Conservation Commission. Public hearing, the above matter will be held in person at Walpole Town Hall, FinCom Room 135 School Street, June 25th, 2025, at 7:05 PM. All interested person requested to be present. And this is from the Board of Health. I will not be meeting before the comments due on June 11th. Therefore, the Health Department would like to make internal comments. The Health Department has no concerns at this time. However, wants to remind the applicant that a septic system construction permit must be obtained from the Health Department prior to construction. Okay, representing the applicant,
Interesting comment. Rob Truax of Truax Engineering Group. So this is an existing home on Kyle Road. It's at the corner of Kyle and Heidi Street, which Heidi Street's not actually constructed in its full length. It's only constructed to the driveway. So the existing septic system's in the front yard, up in this area. There's a tank over here. We went out and did some soil testing for the new system. There's a wetland to the rear of the lot. There's actually, I don't show it on here because we didn't do a detailed survey of the rear yard, but there is a retaining wall that runs along the wetland line, and then from there forward towards the house is their lawn area and backyard. And I do believe they had a separate notice of intent to build that wall and construct that rear yard some time ago. So the 100-foot buffer goes through the front yard, the 50-foot is at the rear of the house. We're gonna be working primarily in the front here. The system itself is just outside the 100-foot buffer of the actual leaching field. So we'll do some tree clearing up in here. All our access will come off Kyle Road. We're gonna not do anything on the driveway because we don't wanna damage the driveway with the trucks and the hauling of gravel. There's a septic tank going in up here in the front corner, replacing the old tank. And then the leaching field is out here. You know, it was a very difficult site to work on. It's poor soils, slow perking material. We are using an alternative technology for the system. If it makes any difference, it's a Elgin drain system, which gives us some relief in the size and the separation to groundwater to help lessen the disturbance. So I really don't have much more to add. Like I said, we will not access the site from the driveway. We are gonna put some erosion control down here at the low level, and this is all lawn area, so we're gonna control that so nothing can, if we do have a rainstorm during construction, nothing would flow across the driveway. typically these types of systems are within a 2-week period, they have the site back to normal and graded and loomed and seeded. So it's a very short period of time that they're working on the site. So, answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Landis?
So has the plan been approved by the Board of Health yet, or? you-
It's been to the Board of Health and reviewed, yeah. And we've applied for a construction permit. That's why I laughed at the comment.
Right. So, yeah, so the wetlands inspection act states that it's, as long as they get approval from the Board of Health, you're just outside, you're just slightly into the buffer zone, so erosion control.
With the grading, we're in the 100-foot buffer up in this corner,
Yeah,
and the tank's in the 100-foot buffer, but the actual leaching field is
Is outside.
outside.
so, it's, similar, just make sure the erosion control is put in properly, that the erosion control is maintained until everything is stabilized to grass. Other than that, I don't really have any.
Okay. Julie?
No, I
Questions?
have no questions at this time.
Jessica?
No questions.
Haley? Al?
I don't see it on the plan where the existing leaching field is.
I didn't have a plan of where it was exactly, Al, but it's generally in this area right here.
And
I didn't hit it with this test pit, I didn't land on it. I mean, the tank's here, it's in between the tank and that test pit, it's up here on the high side.
I see, okay.
So you just leave it, or do you
Just leave
crush
it.
it? You just leave it?
If we run into it, whatever, if we do run into a portion of it, we'd remove it. But if we don't, we just leave it in place. The tank gets pumped out, they'll crush it in place, fill it with gravel. The leaching field just stays, the old leaching field, they just cut it off and leave it.
Okay. Betsy?
Can you briefly explain what this Elgin system is?
Well, they look like, they look like little mattresses. They're 4x3, they're 6 inches thick, and they're like a corrugated material, and they have like, I wanna say that's like, so that there's like a jagged flow through them, they're like corrugated with small slots that go through it. And they've got, they got their approval from DEP for a 2-foot water separation, and you get a 40% reduction in the size of the leaching field. So it really helps these homeowners with these upgrades.
Because this is the first time we've seen that,
The Elgin?
yeah.
Oh, wow. It's funny, the Board of Health girl hasn't seen many of them either in town, she said. She's a lot of the Presby, I think you've seen some Presbys, which is a big pipe with the wrap on it. And that gets 40% relief also.
So it's smaller and there's only 2-foot separation.
Correct.
Why?
Because they've done the studies and the,
Well, how is the design different that it satisfies?
from a standard Title V?
Yeah.
So standard Title V is you have 4-foot separation.
No, I know, but so what is, how, the design is different so that it can sit only 2 feet above groundwater?
Correct.
Is it
Why?
more surface area?
Because they've done the studies and that's what.
But it's,
That doesn't answer
No,
the
no,
question.
they've done studies on the system, and they had to go through a whole process, a piloting process, and then they get approved by DEP for these.
That doesn't answer the
but
question.
it might have more surface area. It sounds like it's
It
got all
doesn't have
kinds
more
of little-
surface area.
It does not have more surface area.
No, they just feel it provides a better leaching system. It does not have more surface area.
It doesn't.
No.
After describing all the little,
Yeah, so if you were to take all the little fissions that go through it into place, maybe, but I don't think we don't count that as surface area.
I know what bacteria do.
Yeah. The bacteria builds up in it. I think they're a good system. I've seen them, they've been around since '95. And we put some in back in the '90s, and they function well, and they're still in place. So I like them a lot. I use them frequently on septic upgrades. I think it's one of the better ones out there, personally. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Anything else, Al or Betsy?
No,
Betsy?
I use bacteria positively. They're the ones that are breaking down the sewage. So it's a good thing.
Okay, anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Hearing none, someone make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 600. So we want for,
-3?
is a -3 with, do we have any conditions on there?
Just, install erosion control, call the agent for
You gonna say
inspection.
you wanna see it? I'll have him call you. Jones is putting it in.
Okay. Oh.
I believe they're gonna, he says, I think he's gonna do it after the 4th on the 7th, that Monday.
He can put it in and then just give me a call.
Yeah.
Okay, someone make a motion for the, was it negative what, 3? -3 with conditions?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 600.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
So it must be that, is it, you think the length of time that it's in the system, that it's, the bacteria is breaking down faster, and that's why the 2 feet
Yeah.
separation? I mean, there's got to be
Just
other
because,
than just.
just because the human eye can't
But
see
it-
surface area, doesn't mean that they can't. I mean, you could fit 10 to the 9th bacteria in a square.
Nooks and crannies are
Yeah.
allowing the bacteria to.
Yes, that's what I think.
job.
I'm gonna look it up when I go home, but yeah, I think so.
And sand versus,
Yeah,
other materials.
I'm glad towns is on my street.
Would seem
Just
that
things
surface
to do.
area would have something to do with it.
Because they
It
said
does.
so.
most bacteria that you think are aquatic are not actually, they love surfaces.
Public hearing, Town of Walpole, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Conservation Commission request for determination. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act and Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice is hereby given the intent of PTSF Real Estate LLC to request the determination of applicability of proposed addition of outdoor eating area with unilock pavers located at 2235 Boston Providence Highway, map 53, lot 47, within 100 feet of the bordering vegetated wetlands. Application plans may be viewed at the Conservation Commission Office, room 212, 135 School Street, at www.walpole-ma.gov/Conservation Commission. Public hearing on the above matter will be held in person, Walpole Town Hall, FinCom Room, 135 School Street, June 25th, 2025, at 7:10 PM. All interested persons request to be present. Okay. I don't see anything here. Oh, here it is. Board of Health. Board of Health at June 17 meeting voted unanimously that the board urges the applicant to adopt the standard best practices for mosquito mitigation and to work with Norfolk County Mosquito Control for spraying and standing water treatments. Institute regular cleaning of gutters and provide proper grading of buffer zone areas in order to prevent low points that draw and hold water. Is that it? Looks like. Okay, representing the applicant?
Good evening, it's Craig Siganowski of Rim Engineering, and the owner of the property, Peter Crowley, and also Derek Fisher, the general contractor that is looking to do the installation of a seating area along the westerly side of the existing Blondie's Barbecue Restaurant, formerly the Red Wing. We flagged the wetlands, did the location work in the area. And what he's looking to do is to put in outdoor seating that's adjacent to the existing handicap ramp system on the west end of the building. That would also be behind the handicap parking areas. It would start on the pavement right behind the parking areas and extend 15 feet to basically the top of slope that drops down into the wetlands. At Landis's comments, we added a split rail fence at that line and proposed to have like chicken wire fencing that would go from the post to the ground to prevent trash from blowing down into the wetlands. If you've been on the site, it drops right down towards there. So there are no trees to be removed. There would just be tree limbs that might be overhanging the area. And the proposed surface is pavers, just like you would have on a patio. Just clear off the topsoil and bring in some gravel and sand, then put the pavers down. And obviously, it would be seasonal seating. So Mr. Crowley can speak to any question about the actual use, and if you had any questions on the construction, Derek can answer that.
Okay. Landis?
Yep, so I had some correspondence with the engineer about what he mentioned about putting a split rail fence and some trash mitigation for the outdoor seating. And I went out there today and got a better view by viewing the site, so, saw the wetlands line delineate, the wetlands is pretty much at the base of the old fill, probably from years and years ago. And it's really a relatively minor, small area that they're gonna be excavating out and then putting a gravel base down. So I didn't really have any other concerns after that, other than what I brought up. The new owner's already done a fair amount of cleaning up of, looks like junk that was there before, and said that you'd be cleaning up other stuff out there that was left either from the previous owner or from the past. So it's really, the site's being improved. So,
That's nice to hear.
where are the samples?
Kenny
No, just
Yeki
kidding.
back there.
It's been a lot of dragging stuff out of there already.
Very familiar.
Yeah.
So the chicken wire is what you're using to prevent any blow?
Right, PO areas.
You'll have a place to gather that on the are the dumpsters on the other side then?
Dumpsters are on the other side, yeah.
Yeah, very new dumpsters, very well taken care of,
Nice.
I noticed. so
Okay,
that's good.
thank you.
Jessica?
No further questions.
No questions.
Bailey? Okay. Ralph?
No questions, but one comment is that a few years back, there was a big project to get a sewer connection for this restaurant. It goes way back across to, what is it, Irving Drive?
Yeah,
Behind
goes
them,
straight through, yeah.
Yeah.
Straight through, and it was a big project.
Yeah, so there are a couple of
Manholes,
manholes in the
yeah.
back, really old, that.
Yeah, the
that-
manholes are more to the other side of the building.
Right.
Before a new owner takes over, maybe that ought to be inspected to make sure it's still functioning right.
He has taken over.
yeah,
He is the owner.
Oh.
Right?
And so far, so good.
yeah.
Anything else, Al?
No,
Betsy?
Nope, no comment.
Okay. In the audience, have any questions or comments? Hearing none. Someone make a motion to close the hearing.
so moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So I would just ask that the area be staked, the areas be estimated, staked, survey staked.
Right, we would stake out the
Yeah,
sediment
prior to
controls.
excavation. And the erosion control be placed. And if you just give me a call once the erosion control is out there, I usually just pop by and make an inspection.
Okay.
Do we want any plaques out here? Or isn't it? Putting up a fence, right? And basically,
I don't know, I feel like with the split rail fence, that
Yeah.
the seating area won't go any further, and really,
Yeah.
because there's a pretty good slope. It's
Yeah.
not going to,
Yeah.
and it even starts to slope
On the,
at, at approximately after where they're
Yeah.
gonna be excavating out, so.
all right, should we put in, they'll be maintained, split rail fences? We used to use those years ago, and they have a life,
Yeah, I know.
so that we should put something that shall be maintained. and that the fencing material, whatever is used, also be maintained and picked up regularly. One thing to have it, but then,
Maintained in what,
and pick up the debris on a regular, on a weekly basis, just so it gets done.
okay. So I would suggest, since these conditions are kind of continuing conditions for a long period of time, generally, that's an order of conditions that gets recorded in the Registry of Deeds, but I guess we recently learned that you can record a determination, so I would say that we should have you guys record the determination, so it's at the Registry of Deeds, that the fence is to be maintained and.
This rail fence and the retaining, that's what you want to call it, fence, be maintained.
Chicken wire or whatever.
The trash.
And the trash,
Trash.
the trash fence. The split rail fence and the trash fence
Okay.
be maintained, and weekly pickup of the trash. Is this a seasonal?
Yeah, it's essentially just an extension of the dining room, you know, into whenever that might be, September, October, maybe even November.
This week, if not next week, should the original go to you or you? Who's gonna record it?
If you want, we can record it for you.
Would you please?
Yeah, you can, I'll send that one to me as well.
You can, we'll send it to you.
RIM
Okay,
Engineering, and we'll record it for him.
Great, we'll do that.
Great, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, thank you.
I got one more meeting, so nice to meet you.
Need some backup?
Should be all set.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more? Okay. Public hearing, Town of Walpole, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Conservation Commission request for determination. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act and Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, notice hereby given the intent of Lisa and Kevin Hulme to request a determination of applicability of proposed removal of existing deck and construction of a new deck with stairs located at 31 Forsythia Drive, map 26, lot 65, within 100 feet of the bordering vegetated wetlands. Application and plans may be viewed at the Conservation Commission Office Room, 212, 135 School Street, or at www.walpole-ma.gov/Conservation Commission. Public hearing on the above matter will be held in person at Walpole Town Hall, FinCom Room, 135 School Street, June 25th, 2025, at 7:15 PM. All interested persons requested to be present. Board of Health, at their June 17th meeting, voted unanimously that the board urges the applicant to adopt the standard practice, best practices for mosquito mitigation and to work with Norfolk County Mosquito Control for spraying and standing water treatments, institute regular cleaning of gutters, and provide proper grading of buffer zone areas in order to prevent low points that draw and hold water. That's it. Okay, representing the applicant,
Craig Siganowski, RIM Engineering. Homeowners could not make it tonight. So the house was built in 1994, and the lawn currently goes to the edge of the trees, the woodland, and directly behind that, we flagged up the wetlands. And it's our opinion that that's been that way since the house was built. Pretty typical, 45 feet behind the house for when they build it. That's what the contractors normally clear. The wetlands may or may not have been there at the time. They have an existing 12 by 16 foot deck on the back of the house, and because this is a walkout system, the deck is raised up at first floor level, about 8 feet off the ground, and it is in very rough shape and needs to be replaced. What they'd like to do is, when they rebuild, to extend it from 12 feet to 14 feet off the house, and then 25 feet along the house. So they are adding, there'd be 2 feet closer to the wetlands, so we found it to be 30.2 feet from the wetlands to the closest point of the deck, which again will be raised. So it's gonna be set on posts, which will be set on sonotube footings, which can be hand dug. There's no real reason to put a machine back there to do anything. There is an existing timber wall, which is, doesn't seem to hold up much, so part of it is in the way, and they can remove that. Whether they keep the rest of it, I don't believe it's holding up much. I mean, I'm sure it's a foot or so drop, but it's not really needed. So we are calling for sediment controls to be at the 25-foot buffer. And if you have any questions.
Okay, Landis?
Excuse me. Yeah, so I don't have any big concerns with sonotubes, right? They excavate, obviously, it shouldn't be, should
There shouldn't be any soil.
stockpiled away from the wetlands, and any leftovers should be put away from the wetlands as well. And just as long as, sometimes with these little projects, it gets expanded to grading the whole backyard and resetting the lawn. As long as they
Right.
know that that's not part of this determination, if they want that, then
Okay,
it's something different. Because I think, yeah, your erosion control is up by the deck, so the erosion control is a limit of work. But besides that, I know that the lawn area is in the 25-foot no alteration area, but that's Wisteria 1, which is a subdivision from quite a while ago. The houses are relatively old, and I think it was it a smaller lot development? I know Wisteria 2 was an open space design. I'm not sure if Wisteria 1 was not. but-
Was not?
Yeah, so I just standard concerns with erosion, maintain the erosion control. The erosion control should be established, and then give me a call, come out and take a look at it.
right.
Okay.
I
Julie?
I just have a question about the timber wall. Is that like a retaining wall that's holding up so it levels the backyard and?
Yeah, a small area there, but again, it's not, you're going from 140 and a half down to 139 or so, so it's not like
Yeah,
it's
it's not
really holding on much.
Okay.
It's close to the house, right?
It looks
Well,
like it's
it's-
right in between the decking and the,
Right.
Right.
No closer than the erosion control.
no closer. Okay, thank you.
Jessica?
No questions.
Bailey?
So if they do take that timber wall out,
Yeah.
are they gonna have to regrade that area a little bit?
Yeah, but again, that's,
Not-
it's like a foot and a half. It could, I'm not sure why they have it there. It didn't seem to be holding up all that much. So, I don't know that they intend to remove it. It's just that the way the deck is proposed, one of the posts may or may not be right along the side of it. It could stay in place.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I see, yeah, right here. Yeah.
Okay, Al?
If the timber wall is removed or parts of it, want to make sure that the timbers don't end up in the wetland as filling,
Whatever that
so
is.
they should be taken away and disposed of properly, especially if they're creosoted railroad ties.
Yeah.
Sure, that could be put into the conditions.
Anything
Well,
else?
yeah, all the demo material, the old
It's
deck,
all gonna be removed.
anything that's taken out should be removed from site, so.
Anything else?
That's
No?
all.
Okay, Betsy?
No comments.
I would have thought we had plaques, using plaques, even with Mysteria 1. I don't see any plaques on here.
No, I didn't see any boxes.
You're wondering if the original development required
I
plaques?
did not look up the original filing, which I imagine there must have been.
Because we've been using plaques for years.
We didn't find the house was built in 94, would, that prior to the Wetlands Act? That of,
No, the Wetlands Act was prior to 94. But we've been using plaques for a long time.
Yeah, but since 1994? And what would they have been on? Something that rotted out by now?
That's the thing, I know there was other filings on, for Scythia, that I think, and I don't think there was plaques.
They were plaques, don't think they were
I
there.
don't know, but I could certainly look it up, but.
It seems to me we started putting them on something substantial, because we
Yeah.
went from,
Yeah.
from.
A wooden post was not gonna
Yeah, the
last
split rail
30
fence.
Yeah.
So we didn't stay with wood, we put with either concrete or granite
But, yeah.
posts. Well, basically, the lawn is in the 25-foot buffer zone
Yeah,
anyhow.
we don't want to put that in the middle of the lawn.
All right. Okay, no one's in the audience, so someone make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
600. So conditions, all debris removed and properly disposed of. All construction
Right.
material and debris removed. What else? Was there something else?
Just their, install the erosion control and erosion control inspection.
Okay. All right. Anything else to put on there? So someone make that a motion. This is a -3. -3 with conditions.
So
Someone-
moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 600.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a paper to sign. Thank you.
I did bring revised plans of the Route 1 job.
Okay,
which
great.
shows the split rail fence.
Thank you.
Okay, what else we gotta do here? We got
Are you gonna
minutes.
keep that plan?
Hmm?
Are you gonna keep that plan?
Yeah, we'll put that. We have minutes from May 14th. There's one. Okay, on May 14th, I just want to make a spelling correction on page 5. The top of the page, it's Turner's Pond. Just a typo, but since it's the heading, we shouldn't. And I guess, can't remember, the rest of the write-up is calling it Turner's Pond, apostrophe S, so I believe that's the correct name for the pond? As opposed to Turner,
We see it both ways.
as opposed to Turner, I know.
It belongs to
I just say
Turner.
a Turner.
Cobb's Pond should have an apostrophe,
So
Clark's
Turner's
Pond,
Pond.
I think
Yeah.
but
commonly,
it, without an
Just-
apostrophe.
yeah,
Without,
Turner
You
Pond.
don't see it on,
Not Turner's
Maps.
Pond,
No.
Turner Pond,
That's
no
what I'm-
S. Right?
I asked Roger once, but I forget. It's too late to ask him
so you
again.
say Cobb's Pond, you say Clark's Pond,
I know.
you say Turner's Pond,
No.
Where are you going with this? This is
Just,
fascinating.
just correcting the
okay.
spelling on it, because it's not, it says Tuner's Pond. And I don't think we have a Tuner's Pond.
It's definitely not Tuner's Pond.
No, so I just wanted to correct that on the, and it's,
Just wanna make
the way
sure
it's
correcting.
written up is Turner's, so we'll leave it as Turner's. So subject to that, anybody have
there's no
anything else
S.
on May, on what?
It's just Turner Pond.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
no S.
Okay,
But
fine.
that, I mean, it's possible it's not correct. I don't think I put an S.
I'll
Okay.
bet that's the way it was, it was named that in the 1940s. And I'll bet that's what, yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, so, want to move the minutes of May 14th?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, everybody was here, okay. The next one is, what's the next one? May 28th? Anybody have anything for May
I sent
28th?
some things to Sarah, so I think I'm okay.
Okay, so someone move the minutes of May 28th?
Sarah, actually, I want to make sure, so you got my comment, right? That I need, that should be clarified. What?
Gary's last name and then the Turner's Pond,
But also just clarifying,
the conversation with Southwood.
yeah, okay.
So those are corrected in here?
No.
Oh, but you have the corrections, all right, subject to, move the minutes of May 28th, subject to the corrections suggested by Betsy.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, everybody was here except Julie, so that's a 501. And then the minutes of, what was it, June 11th. So want to move the minutes of June
I have
11th?
one comment, just you duplicated like, part of a sentence. So in the minutes section, 423, I noted on the second to last page under the enforcement order, 1446-1454 Main Street, that the last sentence incorrectly, and there's a space and then a period, noted that the last sentence incorrectly states "she asked." So you might just want to clean that up. That's it.
Okay,
I'll be abstaining, by the way.
so, all in favor? Okay, that's 501. Everybody else was here, right? Yeah.
I'll second.
Yeah, I was
Oh.
gonna say. We
Oh, you said
moved,
Bailey,
second.
okay.
Okay,
Al, motion, Bailey, second.
Yeah.
And all in favor, 501.
Right.
Okay.
Just to say that I'm not wasn't here, because I wasn't there.
You weren't here, but you don't vote, so.
That's true. I know. Not on this board. I voted last night on my zoning board.
Okay, that takes care of that. What else we got?
Conservation property,
Yeah, what do you have on there?
boardwalk.
Oh, just an update of the boardwalk.
Okay, on the boardwalk, if anybody hasn't seen it, take a look. It's an impressive project. Gary Riggett and his wife
Rockstar.
did a tremendous amount of work on that.
Awesome.
Right now, we are planning on having some formal dedication on October 4th, in conjunction with the Friends of Adams Farm. There'll be music at the barn and other things. So if, the question is, does the town want to get involved in any formal acknowledgements and, quote, dedication or whatever? We're gonna do is have a guided tour, a couple of them.
Right.
And by that time, we should be okay with the, whatever's growing up on the,
Oh, yeah.
on the
That's true.
peninsula.
I can speak to some of that, because I just met with Roy.
Yeah, So-
He'd like to invite some of the select board and town administrator
Yeah.
and anyone else that he's gonna put out that invitation.
so I think that's
Okay.
You wanna check and see who wants to? We're gonna have to make some kind of, NEPRA is gonna make some comments.
Historical.
And the Friends of Adams Farm will make some. Gary Riggett said he would make a brief comment. So, if we do, we need to coordinate this with what else is going on. The music starts at noon to 3. We'll have, Castle Island will be there.
Brewery,
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
beer.
yes, with a beer tent,
beer garden,
beer garden, a beer garden, that's better,
beer
yes.
garden.
There may be, I got a call from Benevino Wine,
Oh, really?
people in Walpole, they might be interested in joining also.
So is this an annual occurrence that you've had up there at Adams Farm?
We have had music at the barn for several years now, at
In October?
3 or 4 throughout the season, so this is the last one.
Okay.
And it'll be looking for hay rides and
Face painting.
face painting.
So you
I don't
probably
know.
expect a fair amount of people.
Yeah, probably a food truck, I think.
Yeah, we don't want an idling food truck.
No,
I'm pushing for the pizza.
Mike and Lenny's.
Chicken Lenny's, or pizza truck,
Yeah.
pizza oven.
there'll be peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
So I did mention this to Drew today. We had a Pine Street culvert pre-construction meeting because he does, the highway is gonna finish the section from the pull-off to the boardwalk with
Oh.
gravel, make it flat. And then the crosswalk needs to be put in with the ADA compliant pads. So all that's been purchased, so this still has to be done. So we want that all done by October 4th.
I also had a question about the vegetation that's growing at that crossway, where that crossway.
Right, that'll be removed to all the,
All that.
yeah, right next to the pole, yeah,
That's pretty,
that's also-
it's pretty hairy.
yeah, because you can't really, yeah,
Gary
it's a
got rid of some of
obstruction.
it.
He did,
Oh,
Yeah,
I
not
don't know.
along the road though, where you cross,
right.
on the Adams side road.
So that needs to be removed, the section from the pull-off to the boardwalk needs to be done, and the crosswalk. And the signs too, he asked me where the signs should go, so they'll
Right.
take care of the safety signs, and then the ones that we all worked out.
Yeah, he just finished that, I think.
This-
Some of the signs, I think. He
Just
was-
finished,
He was having a board sign made. Roy
who is he
Neppel was
Uh,
making a board sign for the,
making a what?
a board sign?
The sign that has all our regulations on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not
What?
doing that.
Oh, no,
He
he's
should be
not.
doing that, because we already did that. They're
Oh,
all
he's not
been
doing
done.
that. He's doing another, just, this is where it is sign, board sign.
We have all that stuff
Yeah, yeah.
ready, so anything really needs to be coordinated, because,
Yeah, because we have a
Otherwise, there's
long list of
miscommunications.
signs
We do.
already.
yeah.
So I'm sure he's talked to you about it, the sign that he's,
I wasn't aware he was making signs.
oh, you're not?
No, I'll see him. I'll have to make a special trip to see him.
Because we spent hours on the wording of each and every sign. There's
And
like
where they were going.
19 of them,
And it's all coming out of the budget for capital,
yeah.
so, yeah. I know there's a lot of people involved with this, but it's
Yeah.
helpful for it to like kind of all,
So, what we need to do is make sure that all this is done before October 4th. I know
well,
that
that's what I
with
just was
DPW,
saying.
that, that we
Yeah.
can get that, and hopefully it fits the schedule. Because that's, the plan is to do it, which, there's a lot involved that'll go on anyhow.
Right, well, that's what I
Yeah.
started off with. I talked to Drew about getting the finished stuff,
Okay.
the, from the pull-off to the boardwalk finished, and then the crosswalk, and then he has the safety signs, and they'll put up the safety signs, so there'll be signs on North Street, with, telling drivers that there's a pedestrian crossing. And then there's signs, right, so we have one with our rules on it, which was gonna go on the conservation side. We have, I think there's, I can't remember now, but there's gonna be, I have a sign that's gonna go at the, white fence where you enter. And then there's a couple other signs too, so that we already have them printed and paid for. And the only thing that hasn't happened is NEPRIS signs, so the signs at the border between the public access and town land,
Maybe that's the one.
that NEPRA was gonna do those signs, and I thought they were also gonna do, there's gonna be some signs, along the property line,
Yeah, but we're doing those. Respect your neighbor.
respect your.
We're doing those ones,
Yeah,
aren't we?
there's at least one of those.
Yeah.
The sign faces both ways.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted, yeah, that, and so need, at some point, who is going to, who wants to speak, we need to really recognize the effort from DPW between,
okay,
you know, the Drew and Jim Thomas, all the work that their crews have done. So, but it would be, and we'll have to get together and see who all is gonna be speaking, because we've got to have to coordinate with the music program as well, as far as who's speaking at what time. But then we can figure that out later.
Okay.
So,
Then just, yeah, pond management, so I'm putting in capital for, treatment of, Turner, Clark's, and Memorial Ponds for another 3-year round.
okay. Is this expiring now? We're on the last of the 3-year plan?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so this is for fiscal year 27, 28, and 29,
Okay,
capital year
yeah.
25, 26. 27. Annual year is something different. So trying to figure all this out is confusing. Luckily, there's other people that deal with that more. Yeah. And then if anyone wants to see pictures of the new pond leveler intake cage on the Eversource right-of-way that the commission issued an emergency certificate for it. This is passing.
This is for the,
The Eversource right-of-way
is this where the
down
beavers were,
Yeah, down by, yeah.
now does this help keep the beavers away? And building a dam?
Well, not necessarily, it just keeps the water from rising to a point where it's going to be
Oh, yeah, they don't leave. They just,
obstructing.
Oh, I had to go someplace.
no, they're not going anywhere. They're just,
Oh, Have they left down on Washington Street? The culvert on Washington Street by DPW?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything, and the water's definitely not been up down there, so.
Must not have come back then. Where they go.
They don't, yeah, it's very hard to get them to go. If they remove a pair, then another pair may show up.
Yeah,
because
I mean, that's
they know it's a
what's
good spot.
happening. Yeah.
Right.
So if the power goes out,
Um,
I can see if it's dark.
And just also, so the NRD Stormwater Green Infrastructure Grant that the town got for stormwater management system at Jarvis Farm, DPW, and Town Hall was, went out to bid, and the bid was awarded. So that's also gonna be happening, well, hopefully by the end of the year, because that's the deadline for the grant, but there'll be a infiltration basin at DPW and a infiltration basin at Jarvis Farm, and then subsurface system here at Town Hall.
Okay.
improvements to existing structures.
All right, anything else?
So 120, 126 South Street, they did do plantings there that we've been wanting them to do, so they did plantings along the wall. And then in the corner where the riverfront area mitigation is, they did those plantings. I come there that way kind of on my way to work, so I pulled in, took a look at it. I haven't heard anything from the actual owners yet, but, everything looks really nice now. We'll see. It's kind of not the best time of year to be planting this stuff, especially in the middle of a heat wave, but they're there.
Those-
How it goes.
We gave them, what, till the end of June to do it, so.
Yep.
Okay. All right, and we did get DEP has issued their decision on Burns Avenue. Or
Right.
Not Burns Avenue.
Yeah.
Burns Ave / Brook Lane,
Brook Lane.
DP 315-1233. The amended superseding order of conditions for all the work that is proposed, additional work that was proposed at Brook Lane associated with the mitigation of invasive species. So the commission had issued their bylaw order on phase 1, and then phase 2 is pending for July 9th. DP got everything at once, and so they did issue a positive approval for all the work with some conditions. So this was issued June 18th, and the appeal period ends July 1st. That's why I wanted to make sure to put it on the agenda, if there's anything the commission wants to do about that.
You didn't have any reason to suggest appeal, did you?
Well, we're not meeting with them until after it's over, the appeal period, right?
Yeah, 'cause he's not gonna be here until, what is it?
The 9th, and
Is
we
our
have until
hearing.
the 1st, so shouldn't we appeal it just based on we haven't met with him? We won't have met with him yet?
There's other reasons.
Yeah, I'm sure there
Appeal as
are, but
well.
that seems the most up.
Do we have a list of what the conditions were from the DEP?
Yeah, so this was online, but it's a copy of it here.
Did you see anything, I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
I haven't either.
Do you see any reason why we would even want to consider appeal?
So, I mean, I guess I would somewhat, I want you guys to make your own decision.
Yeah,
So, when this issue came up, I gave a timeline as to how the commission had issued their decisions in the past. And the original order of conditions for this project, the commission didn't allow the invasive species mitigation plan for that area based on Oxbow's report and just the knowledge of invasive species removal, that it's so infested and there's adjacent property with invasive species on it that it would really just maybe work for a few years and then it wouldn't. So is that, and even DEP said that that's not a benefit to the river. It wouldn't be an additional benefit to the river. It wouldn't be an overall benefit to the river other than just leaving it as is. So DEP has kind of changed their decision on that by approving this. But the original decision was to deny that part.
yeah.
And then the applicant came back and kept on submitting amendments requesting to do that
Yeah.
work. And I think the approval of the invasive mitigation adjacent to the river, right, adjacent to the river, is a direct correlation improvement.
So this has been going on for 6 years, right? This project. And it's really hard to have continuity on it,
Yeah.
because sometimes it's been low-income housing, or,
Well, yeah,
age, whatever, or, then it's been dense, then it's been not dense. We've had members come and go. It's really, but I do remember that from the very beginning, we were pretty committed, as we should be, to protecting the two rivers that are on this property, or riverfronts anyway. And that's, and we've tried to really sort of stay the course on that, even though there's been all kinds of maneuvering back and forth for the last, it's been 6 years, right? I really think it's been 6 years,
Probably.
maybe 7. And right up to the very end, we're thinking about the river. We're not thinking about, okay, how can we help this to work? And the latest thing is, there's some extra units. They need to have a little lawn. So the lawn's in the riverfront, and so they need to mitigate something to justify it. Doesn't feel right to me. But is it futile to pursue it?
Well, is there anything?
He said he wasn't gonna do anything more in the riverfront.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to start with, I would prefer not to appeal, because then we get, there's a more expense involved
okay.
with town council. I don't know that it's worth arguing with DEP, or whatever their decision is, and that would probably be upheld based on other things we've seen. So,
Okay.
that's my thought. I don't know what, is there anything really that is drastic with DEP's decision? We would want to appeal it.
Just the reversal,
Yeah, the
I would say,
reversal.
before they
Yeah.
supported the commission's decision
Yeah.
that invasive species removal plan in that area would not be a
Well,
benefit
yeah.
to the riverfront
Right.
area, and then they kind of
No.
flopped on that.
Now,
Yeah.
that's
We
their
know why.
position now.
It could be just a
Potentially
different,
chief.
a different person.
So it used to be Dan Gilmore, and now it's a different chief, so.
And it's frustrating because we have a promise from 6 or 7 or 8 years ago saying, I swear if I get to do this in the riverfront, I promise never to do anything in the riverfront again. And I remember it because I've had some continuity, but you guys don't. So
No.
It's really frustrating to have a project go on this long and to have so many permutations of it.
Well, we did have one important victory there.
Yeah,
We prevented the roadway from going through next to the river out to Union Street. But,
Yeah.
I think you have to sometimes look at what we gained, and is that important? And to my mind, that's important to keep that from being developed as a road through there. I guess you have to give something in exchange, so the important thing to me was to stop the road from going through. And anything else we can get was a bargain. Now, that's the way I'm approaching it, and he's asking for this and asking for that, and but in the overall picture, we do have a positive something to show for the 6 years we've held it up.
So I have a question of, like, are we allowed to add to these conditions as far as, because the one thing that I'm looking at right now, I'm sure there's more, but is that they're requesting that they demonstrate that the invasive monitoring and removal mitigation is successful for 2 growing seasons.
yeah.
Can we up
Yeah,
that?
so I would be careful with this discussion, being this discussion is, does the commission want to appeal DEP's decision? The public hearing on the bylaw decision is still pending. That's July 9th. So the permits generally go together, but because of this was first a 40B, where all he had to do was file a Wetlands Protection Act, and then he changed the development to a 40A, which brought in the bylaw permit, they became separated. So the amendment of the bylaw order of conditions is still pending on July 9th for phase 2, while DEP has approved both. So to answer your question, yes, because you guys haven't issued that decision yet. The only thing I bring this up is because the timing is really, actually, is tough, that the timing occurred, that the SOC came out before the order or whatever. Because it would be, if you disagree with an approval of the work, then you should probably appeal this SOC, or part of the work. Part of the work we've already approved, so the portion of the work that hasn't been approved, if you disagree with it. But that's really all that this conversation is, because we're not discussing the public hearing that's on July 9th. Confusing.
Go back to the question. Do we,
The question
do
is-
we want to appeal?
Okay.
I think, if I understand right, when the public hearing comes up, we can add conditions.
Yes, under the bylaw.
I think that is probably the way to go. We add conditions. If those conditions aren't agreeable to the applicant, then he can appeal. But, and which just delays, keeps things going even longer. So I am not in favor of appealing their decision. We've been waiting for that and have said we want to see their decision on how we come up with our decision. So we have their decision, and if there's something we don't like, I think we can condition it so it is more suitable to what we feel should be, is my opinion. So, anybody want to appeal the decision? We can discuss it further, or no? We want to vote on appealing the decision? We probably should, I guess. We want to appeal the decision, or just, we don't have
think you
to.
have to vote on it.
Okay.
No, we don't have to vote
Okay.
on it.
So,
I
go
think
down
you
to-
can get a consensus.
Julie? Or against, or doesn't matter?
Yeah, I'm kind of,
Okay. Jessica?
Kind of in the same boat, where it's,
Really?
there's got too much missing context for some of this.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm good with your decision.
Okay.
No appeal.
Betsy?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so no appeal. So you have the time up to now on July 1st
Thanks.
for that.
I do need to take some time off.
Okay. We have anything else that,
Nope, I don't think so.
No, I had nothing new on the, historic mill complex issues. That's it.
where that is taking so long to get a decision?
Yeah.
Okay. So our next meeting is July 9th. Okay, see everybody then.
Okay, so move to adjourn?
Are we off?
Well, second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Yeah, we're